We're good to go?
Good to go.
All right. Well, call the meeting to order. It is 4:01. Do roll call. Roy here. Rita.
Here.
Steve Hurt.
Here.
Dave Crockett. He told you he was gonna be here. Steve Kerr.
Yep, here.
David Reed. He said he may not be here, it'd be late, right?
Yep.
Thomas.
Here.
Liz.
Here.
Murphy.
Here. That's fine if I sit down there.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
You're not gonna sit down here, to be honest with you.
Chris.
Here.
But then, I feel far away.
Yeah, come on down. Price is right, come on down.
We're here. Come
I got
on.
a free chair for you. I love that shirt.
You can buy them from MichiganAutobahn.com
Oh, wow.
or org. I'm not sure.
Insect Patrol, you got it. All right.
Item C, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Support. Oh,
Well,
That's fine, support. But is there any additions or revisions we can do that?
yeah, I don't know where it would go, but I would like to see us talk a little bit more about the role of the function of this group.
yes,
I would like to
Yes,
see that.
agreed.
And I watched the
Agreed.
meeting today and I thought,
yeah,
okay, looks like we need to
Yeah.
talk about that. I don't think it
So
was.
under H, new business H3,
Sure.
yeah, sounds good.
roll.
We asked nicely to do that.
Not yet. Anything else? Well, I know this other thing last time was about signs. Want to update some, it was brought up last time about we're ordering some new signs. And I don't forget who brought it up. David may have brought it up, right, or something. And we were.
Well, we were talking about how.
Right.
that-
And so
Get to
that,
where-
yeah, so there's some questions, like we're ordering some signs, but we weren't sure about the sign.
Do you want me to add it to the date, or
Sure,
do you want to add it to the agenda?
we can just add it to the update reports, right, or do we need it? What's the preference?
Well, as long as obviously every time Murphy reads her update, we certainly can interject or ask questions and all that. So either one is fine with me, but unless there's a better way to do it, fine.
Okay, you add it to your update.
Sound good?
All
right.
So anything else on the agenda? We'll add H3, role of PVP committee. No. No, all in favor of approving the revised agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I carry.
I can take notes unless you really want to, Thomas.
He's really
He's
good.
really good at it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take notes. I'm planning to take notes, but if you want to write them up, that's.
Well, if I write them up, you're not gonna be able to read them, my friend. So I mean, yeah, it's. I think I misunderstood what you said. You're gonna take notes, but do you want me to take notes for the,
If I'm gonna type them up, I'll take notes.
okay,
It's, the work is in typing them up, really. Otherwise, I'd just be doodling. I'll be secretary for you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item D, time for members of the public to speak to Parks Pathways and Preserves Committee for up to 3 minutes on any matter. We do have people here in the audience. Would anyone like to speak?
I don't even think there's time to sit down. I just have a quick question. I understand, sorry, Mary.
State your
Gillis.
name and
Yeah, I'm
just for the record.
be self-involved.
Yep.
Mary Gillis,
Yep.
Scio resident,
Okay.
newsletter editor, and I'm running for trustee. And I heard that that this group is interested in getting involved in deer mitigation. And so I'd like to hear more about that. I know I lived in Ann Arbor during the time when they were working on that issue, and it was incredibly controversial. There were bumper stickers all over the place and people were like really upset. So, so I thought if you guys are taking it on this issue, I'd love to hear more about what you're thinking about. That's it. Thanks.
Usually don't have interaction, but I don't think, I thought this decision was, this committee wasn't going to, it was gonna be the township board doing that, but I could be wrong, I guess. that accurate? Okay. So I guess,
So at the management meeting last week, you said you had gotten Ann Arbor Township buy-in on an idea that you had had about.
So that's definitely a personnel issue. It's kind of like a private conversation. That's not something we're talking about here because the committee itself isn't taking it on. It's just something that in my role, I'm working on.
So it's not a parks issue.
If it's a parks issue, shouldn't it come to us?
I was instructed not to have this be something that we discuss in this capacity, but to leave it for the board to discuss and decide.
By someone in here that you're instructed?
No,
So you and your staff are gonna work on this idea and come up with a plan?
my
Is that
staff
what
are
you're
not.
doing?
No, this
So
is
just-
outside of their,
So just you?
yes.
This committee had a discussion of the pros and cons of deer management. But ultimately, the committee's sense was that it was a board of trustees matter. We weren't asked to make a decision on that or recommendation to the board of trustees, so we kind of ended the discussion. We just had a discussion, we did have a discussion over a couple
Mhm.
meetings of pros and cons of deer management.
Yeah.
And my take on deer management is deer in the parks is not a huge deal. But deer, they're managed in our neighborhoods with people feeding them and encouraging them, and that's more of a township issue, but I think that's a higher level than just the
Mhm.
parks.
Okay,
That's my take, but I know people would like to hunt, and anyway, I won't even go down that.
yeah.
So that's up to the township.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I figured it was a township board thing, but I just assumed that it was this committee's work, but I was mistaken. Thanks for the clarification.
Sure.
I just wanted to make a note for me that we're working on integrating this impervious surfaces material into one integrated map. And a lot of people are mapping it right now, but the maps are all a little bit different with different categories and things like that. So I'm trying to take a look at these and see if I can't bring them all into one unified system here. We're using the Anderson Hardy Road system, which is a USGS system that supposedly works over the whole country. Well, yeah, probably. But it wouldn't match what you've got with their own system here for the river watershed. So our system, one I've been working on for you guys, is already in our form that would fit the MLRC. But now I'm gonna see if I can match this one, then we can have a integrated series of maps that will allow us to do more things, hopefully. So it's just a note of information. And if you're interested in it, we can come talk about it anytime you want. And if you have applications, please come and talk to me about those, because that's the thing we're kind of weak on right now. We got a lot of maps floating around, but we don't have any people making dramatic sense out of them other than, hey, there's a wetlands protection, We want to know that, hey, this one's confronted by a forest that is next to a field that makes a good habitat for critters or something like that. Or this one's in danger because there's development on three sides of it or something like that. So that's just an application model. But we want to give those to you too, because you don't have those, you got a map, you can't go as far as you'd like to with it in making things better for the critters. So that's all we're trying to do. So just a word of information about that, and we continue to put her along in the background. And we are probably going to go into a more commercial operation, because it seems like products we're producing are such that they're going to be in great demand. So you've been very helpful in demonstrating that. We appreciate that. And I think over the next 6 months, we'll probably become a more operational unit of commerce, so to speak. Thank you.
So, sorry.
Go ahead.
I know you said we're not supposed to engage, but I'm curious because I see Norm here quite a bit. And I know you've talked about your maps and the kinds of processes you're trying to help us with. But the fact that you're actually doing something on our behalf, fantastic. Thank you.
Well, we live here, we should do something for.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, that's fantastic, but is this something that, because obviously we can't decide to say, yes, please do that. We can encourage you, but did you already work with the board of trustees to like have a project and you're getting paid to do it and so on? Is that kind of how?
We have some paid sponsors, forest industry, none of them are in this state, unfortunately. Most of them are in the Southern Pines, the regions of the Western conifers, but yeah, we have a lot of groups like that where we do the basal area of the stands on a periodic basis so they can decide, well, do I leave this stand? Do I encourage it? Do I cut it down? Do I trim it up and make it more neat and more growth oriented than it is now?
So the work that you're doing that involves Scio Township, if I heard you right, you are working on Scio Township maps and properties and so on.
Using it as a,
Was that something though that the board said, here, Norm, here's a contract, please do this on our behalf? Because I'm really encouraged by that. I think it's wonderful, but I appreciate you being here telling us, but I didn't know that we had any kind of, I know you've mentioned it before, but I can't remember saying, okay, let's have a resolution to get Norm in front of the board to do, so the board is giving you a contract to do this?
no,
Oh.
we're just doing it out of the goodness of our heart.
Oh, well, thank you.
And-
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome, and we
Yeah.
will probably at some point try and make some bucks off it, but
Yeah,
not in the
yeah.
near future.
Sure, okay, terrific. Thanks for the update. I
Yeah.
just wasn't aware of, all that, so, thank you.
Is Carlisle Wortman doing something similar to what Norm's proposing on behalf
I don't believe so, but I guess it'd be more Murphy question. I mean, they've done stuff in the past. I mean, they put obviously, maps like, well, I don't know if that's watershed, but I mean, because when we did our master or pros plan and other plans, they've sort of been the who's done all that work, Carlisle Wortman. What they're working on now, I'm not really sure. Contract. Usually it's more like when the pros plan is updated, 5 years.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, that's when they sort of dive into a lot of that unless we have a request to do
to?
something.
Pretty soon.
I don't think so.
Right.
Just one last thing to say is, one of the things we found out is the rules for doing these kinds of maps are such that it's very important to make sure if you're going to change detection, you use same sensor at both ends, like camera to camera, line scanner, Landsat to Landsat, Sentinel-2 to Sentinel-2, that kind of thing. Because there's just enough difference in how they're analyzed or how the detectors pick up the radiation that if you don't use them, you will probably get a bias in your results. I think the SEMCOG studies were the best example of that, where you get anything from 30 to 50, 70% force change, just depending on the sensor you use because of its resolution and the way it interacted with the foliage and the time of year and so on and so forth. And impervious materials are the same way. If you do impervious materials in the winter, you do them in the summer, you get a whole different answer, So it's just, we were trying to understand how do these different answers occur and what would be the best scenarios to do them under. And then if you're gonna do another one 10 years down the line, what should it look like, that type of thing? Because otherwise you end up with a hodgepodge of stuff. A lot of it is kind of a hodgepodge. So we're trying to avoid that.
Chris, anyone have their hand raised online for public comment?
All hands raised.
All right, we'll move on to item E, approval of the minutes, May minutes.
Yes.
Supported. Any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Bravo. I mean, hi.
Opposed? Good, ayes. Yep, thanks again, yeah, they were very.
Yes.
We're on to regular reports and special reports. Murphy, Murphy's not here. We could move, but she's not here. David usually gives his report, but he did provide, he sent it out. But I can at least go over what he sent out on 5/26.
Yeah.
26.
Thank you.
These are the actions he reported. The board took the following actions. Number one, table approval of parks rules for further refinement. I think that's probably legal questions. I don't know. There, that's what this does. Item 2, approve the purchase of 200 stakes, 5,250 mesh guards for reforestation project, $45,000. I think some of that is with recon, other. I like that. coming over.
5 Oaks.
5 Oaks.
Maybe we should, maybe we should. I can help you about,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these, approved funding for the design of Liberty Pond Pathway Improvement Project. $18,000. I'm guessing it's probably hiring OHM.
I think there's.
So my question is, why isn't that come to us?
Yeah, I think there should be some at least dollar threshold. I mean, certain stuff,
Why are we being asked to recommend things today and we were not asked? That,
no,
Right.
good call.
So did these notes, do they indicate that she already went to the board of trustees with these?
been approved.
Oh, it's been approved. Right.
So we had a few questions on David's report. The first one, we tabled the parks rules on further refinement. I guess probably must have been some questions about legal or.
No, it wasn't necessarily the legal aspect, it was the formatting.
Okay,
Because we were formatting it as though it was a new ordinance, when it's actually just a change to the ordinance that already exists. And I thought we didn't have an ordinance about parks, so that's what I.
one out there. Not a lot of people are aware of it.
No,
No one's aware.
I don't think there is one,
Until they
but
started doing some research and they found one that was then out there. Okay,
yes,
okay, so we're just updating.
yeah, refining the format, then bring it back.
So interesting, just since we didn't really have a parks. I was just wondering who did the first one.
I know, there's ones for the metro parks, but those involve, because they have their own,
Right, yeah, we're not Metro Parks.
Right, we worked on them in the past, but I wasn't sure how far it actually got. You know, it's been a long time,
yeah,
so. We did work on it though.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, number 2 was approval of purchase of 2,200 stakes, 5,250 mesh guards for reforestation project, $45,000.
Yes, that's from the tree fund.
Okay, from the tree fund,
Yes.
and that's for,
For the 5 Oaks reforestation projects. We did the, last fall, we did the initial deposit for the purchase of the trees. And then this fall is when they're gonna be ready for pickup and planting. So the stakes and the cages are gonna be what hopefully keeps the deer from just eating all of our trees.
How many are you planting at once?
3,000.
And
Where?
So at 5 Oaks, there's the 2 fields that are along Park Road, and then there's that other corner field. It's gonna be that.
Oh, okay.
And then we also were able to, with the plants that we're putting in the rain garden for the 5 Oaks parking lot, we were able to, because you can only wholesale price at 38 plugs. So we bought a quarter more plants than we needed for that to put in for the wet meadow restoration alongside of the reforestation project. So that site's can see a ton of work.
Is that primarily on the west side of that particular parcel?
East side.
Oh,
So east side moving west.
so closer to South Farms, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay.
And is this something that, like our group, or we could have, are you gonna have a volunteer workday so that you
Oh, yeah.
can utilize a lot more people?
Yeah, we're gonna get, so we have in the budget for this year from the tree fund, multiple augers, like battery operated augers, and then we have the regular, like hand augers. But with the trees, so we did the American chestnut project with bare root essentially, but ours are gonna be slightly larger. We can still use the spade that, I don't call it a spade, but do you know what they're called? Yeah.
Like a wedge. sort
Like a
of thing.
wedge, yeah. And that was really efficient.
So you just wedge and then stick them in there and move on.
Push it back down and yeah.
So it's gonna happen this fall.
Yes.
And how soon will you put the date out there so people can mark it?
It's gonna be dependent entirely on when the trees are ready, but they know that we're looking at October and November. So ideally by September.
It's an assortment of different. ones.
Yeah, so the last year when we had Orbis do their FQA for all of Five Oaks, one of the purposes of that was to get their recommendation on what type of reforestation would be the most successful. And then once he identified the natural community type, he gave us his recommendation, and so did Bob, I think his name is, from Wild Type. And they said, they both agreed that this group of trees species was the perfect fit for that natural community type.
Yeah, what are some examples? Do you remember?
We have a ton of oaks, so black oak, pin oak, we're gonna do tulip poplar, sycamore, or basswood. And then we also wanted to make sure to focus a little bit like on structure and understory, so we did, I think, 5 species of shrubs. I don't remember entirely, 9 bark, musclewood, more towards the wetland side, and witch hazel. Witch hazel? Yeah, I think that's what it was.
So that, so they know that that the soil is contingent for
Yeah.
entertaining those things.
Yeah, yeah, he did a soil study, we did a soil study, and then he also did, and it's, because it was partially agriculture, it's not as sandy as when you go into like the actual wooded part, it's a little bit more sandy, but it's still conducive to planting the types of species of trees that will continue the music flatwoods natural community type. Yeah.
And also it's pretty wet in there, right? So
Mhm.
that should help.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the positioning of it will be kind of randomized
Mhm.
so that it's not like a tree farm.
Yeah, so I talked to a forester yesterday. Who mostly works up in East Lansing and Lansing, but I told him about this project and I was like, maybe you could just be somewhat involved to give recommendations to make sure we're doing it right. Since it's our first time, want to make sure that all of our trees don't die.
Is there, since it is parks, is there a way to arrange the trees so that we can keep in mind, maybe we could have activities in those areas as far as even seating, like quiet study or, just think ahead and think, what would you like other than just trees?
Yeah.
So could we have even an area where, I don't know, just mostly I think of sitting out and enjoying the peace and quiet or sitting with the
Yeah.
group.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
But think about it before you actually plant all the trees.
Okay.
Like thinking of paths and side areas of
Areas to go to and
benches
just
and what
be,
have you.
just enjoy and just, so you don't have to carry. And in the future, maybe we could put a table, picnic table or something out there where we could just something that we could enjoy.
Yeah, these are pretty little bitty, right, that we're starting with, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be a while before
But
Yeah.
still,
shade trees.
Yeah.
they'll grow.
Yeah.
You know,
All of the chestnuts that we planted are leafing out, so I feel like, yeah.
I was gonna go out there, so there.
We bought all but the motorized pump we bought it for this reforestation project, but we were trying to get it all set up to make sure we could water those trees. And the pump is not working, the setup that we were envisioning, so we literally had to take buckets and just fill up buckets out there and go and water the trees, yeah. They were troopers about it.
Thank you. But 3,000 trees, it's gonna take.
We're
a while.
gonna not have to do buckets by then.
No, I know, but just planting 3,000 trees, because we planted what, 50 some trees?
Mhm.
It took a while.
Yeah.
So 3,000 is like, gonna take
At least a week,
a week in army.
yeah.
I mean, more than, we had 4 people, but yeah,
Good chance to get outside in the fall.
exactly.
Yeah.
no.
How much in this tree area is there a path available already to walk to it?
Mm,
We're gonna mow the field first or something?
The path right now, so it's like the 2 fields along Park Road, and we have the path where the parking lot's gonna go. That goes up to the woods, and then there's the loop, and then the path through the woods that goes beside Scio Farms. and then another loop at the end. But if you just can see the field from where the other loop is, so people still just walk straight out into the field. There's nothing going on there though. So when we mowed it for the burn, it's just like the same thing we did at Van Curler, is we made the burn break and then one down the middle. So that's probably how we'll keep the trails, since we're still working on the signage. We want to make sure that when it's, like, we're planning in advance for where the trails are gonna go, essentially.
Right, but for the planning, is there a plan to mow the area prior to planning or just?
We started control last year, since there's goldenrod, Canada thistle, crown vetch, all that. So we mowed it all last year, then went through and hit it with herbicide. And then we had the burn earlier this year.
Okay,
So it's gonna be pretty well prepped
Okay.
for trees to
All
go.
But to Rita's point about having benches, be able to enjoy the quiet areas and watch, sit in the trees and all that. Are we trying to encourage people to just basically stay on the trails and the preserves and parks and not wander off the trails?
Definitely, yes.
Okay, so if we're going to plant the trees, I can see that there's a perfectly great reason if nobody ever sets foot in that area, human beings per se. But if we can bring a path and a bench to enjoy
That's
what's
okay.
coming.
Yeah,
Okay, well, so to Rita's point, while you're planting those trees, then if you can keep in mind, how are we gonna get a path there and what kind of bench here and bench there? And is that the kind of thing, and I know I'm skipping ahead, but you know, to the value of what this committee can bring to the parks and the preserves, discussions, planning, you know, thinking big picture kind of thing. Would that be something that, or am I overthinking this? Cause I'm really good at that. Should we be saying, you know, some type of resolution that we want to see a path? And I don't know, should we mention a bench? Maybe, but that if we're going to invest in trees like that, and again, there's a great reason to do it, even if nobody ever is encouraged to walk there. But why not? You know, why not maybe say that the Parks Committee suggests if we're gonna put that kind of money and use the tree fund for all those great reasons, well, why not see if we can't get a path and a bench of some kind, you know, to enjoy that for the people that want to use the preserves and the parks? So my question is that something that we should be writing up we would resolve to request or suggest that in the planning of planting these trees, we make sure that it's thought out where a path and a bench can be put in while you're planting the trees? Think of that, you know, ahead of time. What do you guys think? I don't know.
well, I guess maybe we should first ask Murphy, is there a plan? Maybe that's, I guess I'm not sure, what kind of plan, is there a plan for these plantings, I guess? How is that, what is the scope? Cause I understand what you're saying, but you know, it's just something.
No, I'm fine.
We
Yeah.
have 20 acres, I don't know how many, you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, you sort of, you have a vision that's gonna be these trees and these bushes, these over here and these over here. I don't know, obviously someone's thought a little bit because you come up with 3,000 trees.
this was originally Jackie Corto's concept. So
Great.
this is the place that she chose. So that's why this is the site that I'm focusing
That was years ago though.
on. I know, but that's when they adopted
Yeah, we haven't heard this recently.
when they adopted the tree plan formally last year. That was what they adopted, was her tree plan.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
And Jackie Corto is still around.
yeah,
And another thing to keep in mind, of course, is all those shrubs are gonna wanna be in the sun. A lot of them, if they're producing fruit, a lot of them might be happier in the sun, so I think working them in and just having an area where there is some sun, you know, for those cold spring days, you know, just to have a variety of. Before you just completely fill it up with trees, you know.
so yeah, the plan is not. So with the natural community type that we're trying to restore, because the idea here is we have West Scio and we have Five Oaks, and then this space in between. And there's two things that we're trying to accomplish with that concept, is continuation of that same natural community type. So especially with like Music Flatwoods, but also any kind of barren, oak barren or whatever. We're focusing on dappled light. So we're not looking to like fill a space with trees. We're just trying to, which is why we have 3,000, because it's actually significantly lower than the amount of trees that are recommended per acreage if you're looking at like a forester's. Because we're looking at restoration, not let's plant a bunch of trees and hope for the best. Like
3,000 trees over how many acres?
20, no, 15.
Woodview Commons joins this parcel.
Yes.
Just to the northwest. They have a very, very nice paved trail.
Yep.
And Honey Creek is the only thing holding that trail back, connecting to this area. So it would be really nice if we could plan for that possible eventual connection.
And we are, because that was when I first started. I think you and Rita, maybe you and Hob and I, and then Chris and I went out to look at where the potential is for connection between Five Oaks using Woodview Commons. Because we do have the option, because I think that's why they put it there, was we were supposed to connect with them eventually. Which is
Woodview
what,
really wants to connect.
yeah, that would be great. So it's still,
Discussion last night at the meeting, I think, review comments, that was when they put in their part of the sidewalk when they built that community. And then now somebody was questioning, well, why don't we have a sidewalk? And it's like, because that's up to us. And there's been a lot of shuffling, so.
Yeah, we have bridges and connections in our agenda today, and I would love to see that one on our future agenda.
So is there a plan then? This is back to what Steve was saying. So she's, who did I put this together? I'm sorry.
well, the
Jackie-
tree plan itself was Jackie's.
So
Jackie.
is there a plan or just an idea? I guess.
There was a formal plan adopted, which has had to have been tweaked since then based on the new information that we have. But the site itself and the reforestation, that's all hers. But the makeup of the trees is updated.
So maybe we should bring that back to our committee, just, sounds like some people are familiar with it, some people aren't.
So this is the the Hathaway board that approved this tree
Yes.
planting for Jacqueline?
Yeah.
And it might not hurt to invite Jacqueline to one of our meetings to just, at some point, but I know it's, if we're planning out that far. She came to one of the meetings before, just to see kind of, I wouldn't mind.
What
hearing
would we
what
ask
she's
her if we invited her? She has a plan that she gave to the township. I'm just wondering
Yeah.
how that would.
Well, I mean, she doesn't have to come to our meeting. I mean, it's something Murphy can even reach out and just kind of like, just have a 5-minute conversation about, did you have a plan? But maybe you don't want to know.
But
Maybe
you said
she and I
there
have-
is a plan.
She and I have had this conversation. So the
Okay.
tree plan was adopted like the month after I started with her plan in mind. And so she and I have had conversations in the past, but she's got a lot of other stuff going on. So getting the full understanding of what her concept was, it has been challenging. So we've incorporated as much of her original plan as possible. But if you're thinking about trails, is that kind of, are you talking about just the tree planting or the whole concept is?
thinking
one?
of a big picture of land use. Okay, so you plant trees.
Right.
You make it pleasant. Okay, I'm thinking of how we would like to see that utilized by people that live in Scio Township. If they should find themselves going out there, that's all. And I'm just thinking, I'm thinking ahead, like, why not think about where you might like to have a bench here? There are some benches where people could go and,
Especially the Woodview Commons component, because, obviously they built a paved trail, not that we're gonna have a paved trail the whole way, but at least tie on to, and make sure, wherever it's winding through these parcels, we're not planting trees, right? So like,
I did a little bit of math based on the numbers we were discussing, and so the average, if the trees were perfectly evenly spaced, they'd be, the square that a tree would go in would be about 15 by 15 feet. So, which leaves a lot of room for paths, but so you could draw on your plan, just choose the best guess for a pathway of the future and just put those trees a little bit there, you know,
Yeah.
you're gonna not wanna plant them like it looks like so it looks like a tree farm, obviously. There's gonna be some variation in placement, different types. And if you could just draw a rough line of where a path might go in the future, you could just kind of give a little bit more space for that. It wouldn't be a lot because the trees are already 15 feet apart. And kind of define a potential pathway.
And that's,
Which wouldn't be
I'm sorry if
set in
I
stone.
didn't make that clear. That's the plan. Is so where people are kind of already creating social trails out into that field, we're just gonna continue that. And then we already have the trail mapped out. So we're gonna be planting.
That's what you're saying?
So yes, have
Oh.
the trail mapped out and then we're planting around the trail. So we're planning for the trail.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sounds like everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now we are.
okay.
Yeah, thank you for that clarity. That was not. Yeah.
And maybe
Okay.
next time, if you could bring that plan, so there's something, a drawing, you say a plan, it's actually
Yeah.
something you could look at and say, oh, visual.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, 'cause sometimes like, oh, this is our plan, it's on a piece of paper, right? It's like, okay, we wanna plant 5,000 trees, that's our plan. Sometimes it's like, oh, a drawing that shows spacing every 15
Yeah.
feet, I mean, how much detail, not that we need to find out exactly where every tree is gonna be planted, but it's like, okay, this is sort of the vision, right, for these two parcels. How it's gonna be, higher, more trees over here, less trees, bushes over here, blah, blah, blah. And it's, eventually there's gonna be this winding path that someone already has a path through it, and then future paths, and so, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Excellent. Right? I think that's where, yeah, that's where.
Sure, but are you saying, yeah, meaning you can bring one to the next meeting? Is that what you mean by that?
Sure.
Yeah, great. I think it's nice that we understand that, but it's also nice to know, okay, it's gonna be at the next meeting. That would be great, yeah.
Would we ever consider putting, bushes out that produce berries and things like that, just to, for human and wildlife consumption?
so the shrubs that we picked are specifically like for. Some of them are berry producing, but not human berry producing. And then the others were picked because they fit in that ecosystem type, but also because we need to be attracting more like large moss species. So that's where the selection came for those species specifically. But I don't really ever consider like humans consuming them, mostly because we're trying to not get people to take stuff from the parks. That's just the way that I view it.
Sure,
Mhm.
just curious.
Okay, is that clear up item 2 here?
Yeah, thanks.
So on to David's item 3, approve funding for design of Liberty Pond pathway. Approve project $18,000. Yes, first, what is this and who's doing it? And then the other
So this
question.
is outlined in the capital plan from last year. So the Liberty Pond pathway, it keeps evolving based on who is looking at it. So originally, the idea had been to put in a culvert because there's just that ditch in the back. And we know that there are people that want to utilize that space that are limited because of the ditch. So the plan originally was to put in a culvert and then restore the area to just basically a drain, because somebody built a drain that goes to Liberty Pond. So restoring that area with native plants. That whole place is a nightmare. So putting in native plants right now is gonna not produce the result we want. So instead of trying to restore that area and put in a culvert, we're looking at putting in a boardwalk with the hope that people can actually, like people in wheelchairs and such, can still get across it more easily. Otherwise, if we don't restore it and just put in a culvert, it's probably still gonna get washed out. But if we put in that boardwalk there, because it stays so wet specifically in that area, then there's a likelihood that we won't have to mess with it again.
This is about the loop around.
Yes,
This is not the pond.
not the pond, the opposite side of the pond. It's like that cul-de-sac at Wild, it's near that side.
I'm pretty sure I know.
Okay. So this was sort of on our capital last year.
It's on for 2025, 2026, 2027.
Right, but it was a project that was in last year's.
It was in last year's and it's in this year's. Yeah.
Number 4, any more questions on 3? For approval, request to apply for an MDNR wildlife habitat grant. What is that?
So okay, this is something I don't have enough information to talk about it too much. But the design, once it's done, is gonna come to you guys. Okay. I don't want to start. So in the south, there are these like freestanding chimney swift structures that people are using for habitat for breeding and roosting chimney swifts. And one thing that we know is the populations are severely declining because they're aerial insectivores. Old chimneys are getting knocked down and people are capping their chimneys. So when we were looking at the pavilion / gazebo idea, OHM suggested going out to Milford to look at their gazebo or their pavilion, just to be like, this is how big you could do it. And we looked at that kind of when I first started, and it's going to be way too expensive because we don't want to spend that amount of money on a pavilion. I think that was the general consensus, that it was too expensive. So I was out there and I was like, they basically, because they have a functional fireplace, they basically have built chimney swift habitat
In Milford.
in Milford. Not on purpose. So I reached out to the only organization that's been able to successfully build a freestanding chimney swift structure in the north, because the ones in the south don't work up here, which is in Manitoba. And I've been trying to get with them for a long time. They finally shared the plans with us, but only will share them really with OHM because the government paid for that design and all the work that went into it. So I asked them to put together a mock-up of what it would look like if we were to build a pavilion using a chimney swift structure as part of the supporting wall. So they did create the mock-ups, but the grant, I met the guy, one of the guys that executes the grant, and I was like, this is a concept. What do you think? Like, does this qualify as like wildlife habitat? Because it is something that's disappearing. And he was like, in a sense, yes, but you'd have to finesse it in a way that ensures that game species also benefit. And we already are planning on converting that cool season grass in Township Hall Park into prairie. So he was like, if you can combine that project, which focuses on deer and turkeys, and include that in it, you might be able to get funding to cover the pavilion. So that's the plan with the wildlife habitat. It's a long shot, but it seems fun. It's a bird.
And you can go out.
House for birds.
So it kind of is like a house,
Okay,
but
but it's a
It-
chimney.
Chimneys,
Oh,
you know, across from the Y downtown, there's a chimney freestanding
Oh,
that's because of the chimney Swifts live in there.
okay.
It was part of the, Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
So chimney swift is a
They
bird.
took the building away and left
Yeah.
the chimney.
That was the road commission's original yard.
Gotcha.
Oh, really? Yes. I'm so glad it's.
Okay,
And you can
I've
see,
never heard that term
it's
before.
fun to go sit, out and have beer. You can sit at Max School too, or whatever they call it, the open school. But you sit out and watch a certain time in the
Mhm.
evening. they'll-
Right.
They just,
Dusk.
at dusk,
Yeah,
hundreds of them, just like
sort of like bats.
zip in there.
Are
If
they
you go to
bats?
Farmington.
Or
No, they're
birds?
they're birds.
Birds.
All right, but ducks,
You need to do educational programming in chimneys, so
So at
Yes,
night
we
they
could
come
do-
out or go in?
they
Oh,
go.
they're out all day and then at night they go
Yeah,
into
they
the.
want the bugs, and then at dusk, they dive in.
And
Okay,
they sleep there and they have their nests.
Right.
And in
So they have
Farmington,
one
there's a
nest in
huge
there
chimney.
though.
It's spectacular.
It is.
The birds are coming in. I've got some photographs. The birds come in like almost like a cloud, man.
wow.
Dense.
Mhm.
It's amazing.
It's a
Every
lot.
night?
Yes. That's pretty.
And then in the winter time, they go to the south? Where they
Yes.
stick around all
I'm
year?
pretty sure because they eat bugs, and there's no bugs in the winter,
They probably
so.
migrate. I don't know.
They do migrate.
Okay.
So the idea with that would be to create just like the structure itself as the community benefit, but then having Swift nights out where we could actually ask people to come in and help us count. I mean, it won't happen right away, but we do have chimney swifts out here every single day already. So we could count them. It could be like community science, community event, and then there's someone who has almost perfected the live stream. So you can actually set up a camera and watch the chimney swifts when they go in for the night, and then also watch them as they're building their nests.
Mhm.
And they've evolved away from using the natural environment. They need these.
They needed really, really large snags, which we just don't have large enough snags anymore. I don't think that there's any recent observation of a chimney swift using a natural.
You can see them downtown.
Okay, well, I don't get downtown, but so is a snag a dead tree or something?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I think I think maybe I said this to Roy, but a few years ago, I was in South Carolina and they have something called the Swamp Rabbit Trail where they purposely post all these dead trees all along this 13-mile long trail, and it's like filled with birds and, you know, of course, there's natural trees, live trees and all that, and a canal that runs by. But I just thought, well, they obviously were doing that for a reason. I think, Roy, you might have explained to me why, but so a snag, that's what that is, that all those dead trees are snags. Okay, great, thanks, I'm learning something, I appreciate that.
If anybody, if our group, anybody ever wants to go out and make those observations,
All right,
let's do it.
all right,
Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's fun.
all right.
And then the concept too is to still keep the footprint of the pavilion itself really small. So I know this is just a mock-up, but it has 4 picnic.
Okay.
We're not looking to like make it huge, and the chimneys, it's not a functional fireplace still.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Yeah, right.
Item 5, approve successful completion of 90-day introductory period for our full-time intern natural area technician, Noah and Allison. So it's approved.
Yes,
So everyone's on probation for 3 months.
everyone but Mike, but I think Mike's should be, gosh, when did Mike start? End of April, May, yeah, it's got a while, unfortunately, but.
So approve Mike Blackburn as interim utility director, but
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking about Mike, seasonal staff Mike.
okay.
Yeah.
Even our seasonal, they're on probation for.
In a sense, yes, it's not approved by the board, but he can't get like boot stipend until 90
Okay.
days.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So that was our BOT update.
Okay, good, thank you.
So let's jump back to township parks reports and special reports.
Okay. Okay, so we're working outside, working on invasive species removal. There's been in general, just like a shift in priorities for this upcoming year, and which is probably going to be reflected in subsequent years. Last year, we spent a lot of time out at Liberty Pond, partially because we didn't really understand the status of like all of our parks and preserves yet, and where we needed to spend a lot of our time. Realizing very quickly this year, as all of the Phragmites and all of the teasel has come back, that was just like complete, not waste of time, but it did not have the results that we wanted. So switching to focusing majority of fieldwork time on our high quality sites. So West Isle Preserve, 5 Oaks and Van Curler. And Van Curler is still kind of like not great either, but those are the two we're focusing on the most, West Scio and Five Oaks. Just to keep pulling back the garlic mustard, we cleared. How many of you walked into Five Oaks from the parking lot trail?
Parking lot trail.
So where the parking lot's gonna go at Five Oaks?
Off of Park Road.
Park Road.
Yeah, that's where I'm.
Okay, so when you first walk in, there's the trail that divides like the two sides. And then basically goes all the way back. We did garlic mustard removal in almost that entire space. And we turned it into from a green blanket to just spring ephemerals. It's very exciting. So that's what we did a lot in May. Yes, a lot in, well, April and May. And then towards the end of May, the pods started popping. So we moved over to Dame's Rocket, which is what we're spending a lot of our time on right now. We're moving into working a lot in that restored prairie area where the parking lot's gonna go, focusing on teasel, crown vetch, thistle, and then just pushing back some of the Canada goldenrod, because right now it's basically just a field of Canada goldenrod. And we did spread like 5 large grocery bags of prairie seed out there last fall. It's gonna take a couple of years, but hopefully by pushing some of this other stuff back in the next couple of years, we'll see some of those natives actually not getting out competed all the time. So that's what we're doing in natural areas. We started up all of the,
How did the burn turn out?
it's great.
Van Curler, so
Oh,
the result after the burn is that everything's coming. Are you saying that even the burn, there's all this stuff coming back, or did the burn
yeah,
do its job?
the burn still did its job.
Oh, okay.
And it burned a lot better than Dave was anticipating,
Uh-huh.
but you know, when you have years and years
Yeah.
of just garbage, it's gonna take a while.
Okay.
But it definitely still looks better this year than it did last year.
Does Dave think 2, 3 more burns before we kind of have the advantage over the bad stuff? Any way to even try to crystal ball that?
No,
Oh, okay.
not really.
All right.
One of the problems that we have out there is the black locust, and it's just so aggressive.
Hmm.
We pushed it back last year, and when we came back 2 months ago, there was a whole line of trees that are taller than us out there. And it's like, where did these come? They literally look like they were planted.
Wow.
So it's gonna take a lot of work.
Yeah.
Probably gonna make the black locusts that are out there now, instead of trying to cut them, make them into snags so that they're
Oh.
some useful habitat for somebody. So we started our wildlife surveys again, working on butterflies, night moths, breeding bird surveys. Bat surveys were supposed to start today. Equipment is failing. Started with camera trap surveys again. We just finished Van Curler. Now they're up at Sloan. And then we're doing herp surveys. So we've been working on salamanders, but that season is over. Then we mostly doing incidental herp surveys with turtles, and then NOAA put out cover boards so that we can check for different types of snakes. So the more we learn about the natural community types, the more we're like, there's a really good chance that we could find first occurrences of a lot of different species of snakes in our preserves. So that'll help us. Instead of doing transects looking for snakes, we can just have cover boards that get checked every once in a while.
What size of boards do you use for that?
They're pretty large. They're
Is
like,
it plywood?
yeah,
Okay, I have a few pieces. of
bring it on in. He just set up some at Township Hall Park. We're putting signs on them that are, you know, research in progress, do not disturb. And in terms of staff, he's the only person that's gonna be out there flipping them, just so that we're not constantly out there, people flip them one day and then another staff member's like, oh, we haven't done cover board surveys, and goes out there and flips them again. And then we have breeding nest box surveys, and those are going really well. We have tree swallows, house wrens, chickadees, and eastern bluebirds so far. Okay,
May I ask, so did you say that you're not going to do any more work at the?
we still are. It's just, we were spending all of our time basically out there trying to just
Last
push
year
the
was a
stuff
big year.
back.
But
Yeah.
it made a huge difference. So
Yeah.
that's why I hate to see you, because if you keep after that, the Phragmites, I mean, it's, right now it's, foot high. But
Right.
at the end of the summer, it'll be 5 foot,
So-
6 foot high.
We definitely are gonna keep pushing the Phragmites back, but there's a new method that we're gonna try. Instead of just spraying all that herbicide, we're going to use injectors. So the SISMAs in Michigan are letting people use root injectors instead of foliar spraying. So we're gonna try that, and it'll take a lot less time too. So again, just, it was topsoil mined. And as much as I want it to look awesome, and we did make a lot of progress, what needs to happen is it needs to get boom sprayed. And that's just an amount of time. If we're doing it out there individually, it's gonna take all summer. Whereas we could just get a boom sprayer and just herbicide it.
Can't we just mow it? Just keep mowing it once in a while, 4 times a year?
Not really, cause even out in this backyard here. And then there's that basically rain garden. I did herbicide application last year to fight the crown vetch in that area. Went back later, mowed it, and then hit it while the crown vetch was really small. And then if you look in the yard where it's getting mowed once or twice a week, the crown vetch is still growing. And it just never stops. It's like it's
weakens the
unkillable.
plant though over time, right?
You would think, yeah, but it's not, and I don't know why.
Does it have?
Maybe it just hasn't
rhizomes
been long
in it?
enough.
It might be.
I'm having trouble with quack grass. It's the same thing. You
Mm.
can't. It's walking now, so.
We're also working on pushing back. I mean, still at Liberty Pond, there's populations that are still completely manageable, like the Japanese knotweed. So we're still working on that before those ones get out of control. But with the larger stuff that's already totally out of control, we just need to reevaluate how we're gonna target it.
It has made a huge difference. I just want to reiterate, and you've got native grasses coming in where you've taken out some of those invasives.
Yeah.
So I hate to see that just go. So I hope you'll continue in some way.
And we definitely aren't just giving up on it, but
I can see a different focus as long as that.
and it's not tunnel vision, which is what we had last year at Liberty Pond. It helps too throughout the year. There's no point in working at Liberty Pond in April, May, because it's mostly garlic mustard and Dame's rocket that can be targeted then anyway. So really working in 5 Oaks is the best way to spend the time in those early months. And then, we don't have to deal with Phragmites and reed canary and teasel at 5 Oaks. So we can just shift away from that and focus on those at Liberty Pond and then other places too.
How much of the good stuff do you kill with the herbicide? I know you want to get rid of the bad stuff, but there's gotta be some casualties of that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily at Liberty Pond, there's, other than the grasses that have been coming up, there's not good stuff out there. A little bit of Canada goldenrod, but a little bit of Canada goldenrod turns into a monoculture very quickly.
Are there herbicides or whatever that target certain things? We can't really do that, can we? That would be.
We have 2 types. We have triclopyr and glyphosate, and one of them is selective and then one of them is not. So earlier this week, we did spraying with triclopyr, and then at another site, we were using glyphosate. So it's nondescript and then versus sort of targeted.
And my question is in doing that, how are you affecting the insect population? When I was in Europe, no insects. I was in Sweden, and I was in Italy, and I did not see an insect. I saw lots of bushes with flowers, waiting, no insects. It was horrible.
It's
I
definitely
came home,
affecting-
and when I saw insects, I almost cried. Really, no insects. And I'm worried about bees and with the glyphosate. I mean, how do we do that?
So
How do we dance that?
just like with literally any type of management, we're doing integrated pest management always. So we're not ever going out and just spraying herbicide, just like we're not only burning and we're not only mowing. It's a balance of everything. So it's hand pulling, mowing, herbicide, fire. we're doing all of those things and never just one of anything. So that, you know, we don't have those really negative impacts, but at the same time, like, we're using 2% glyphosate, which is really low. You know, it's not, I'm not saying it's not having a negative impact, but there's always gonna have to be trade-offs, and you just have to decide which of the two is more important. Like, we had someone out there when we were out at Liberty Pond last year, she was like, the butterflies really like the crown vetch, so why are you spraying the crown vetch? It's like, because the crown vetch is out competing every other thing, and then maybe they like it for pollination, but where are all the host plants? So it's kind of
Are
that.
there butterflies anymore now?
At Liberty Pond? Oh yeah, that's where Noah's still focusing all of his butterfly surveys at. So they're still out there. It's just,
I mean, not that this year's early, but
yeah,
so, yeah, we'll have to see.
yeah.
So within your structure of who works for you and the work that you do, and either the consultants, if you hire any, you know, obviously for the burns you do, but when you talk about the plan, it's not tunnel vision. That's great, makes sense. But who's the one deciding or helping decide, all right, well then here, it's this 2%, I can't even pronounce what you were saying, yeah. But how do you determine, and who is the decider, so to speak, on how these things get meted out? And whether it's a burn, a mow, a spray,
Yeah, that's my question.
how do you plan that?
So let me pull this up real quick. We're really lucky in the township to not have to be reinventing the wheel. So a lot of this stuff, like, this is was generated by an organization that did trial and error for all of our invasive species with the different types of herbicide to figure out what is the very least amount of herbicide we can use to still have an effect. So that's what we base all of our concentrations off of, is what time of the year is it most effective and what's the least amount that we can use to still kill this stuff. So that's how we decide that. In terms of like the plan and how we determine how to spend the time, it's really a combination between my experience and then the two permanent staff's experience.
Yeah.
Because we don't have management plans.
Mhm.
And most places like NAP or MBGNA, like, they operate solely based on the priorities set out in their management plans. And that's decided through floristic quality indexing, natural community identification, which is what our consultant is basically doing for us, is doing all of those studies, showing us where our priorities should be, where we should be investing the most time and money and labor.
Mhm.
And then that's how we're gonna make the decisions in the future. It's not gonna be, gosh, where do we wanna work this time? It's gonna be, our consultant said, this is a high priority area, so we're gonna work in this.
So we have a
until-
consultant,
Our consultant, we have a
we
consultant.
have a consultant, yeah, right?
We hired him,
Is it?
Orbis Environmental. We hired him,
Never heard of that before.
Yeah,
that contract came in front of the PPP, probably 8 months ago.
okay.
And was approved, so we approved his initial research at 5 Oaks, and then the contract where he's doing the FQA for all of the parks and preserves.
FQA is what?
Floristic quality assessment. So he's coming out 4 times a year, where I met him actually. 4 times a year, looking at all of our preserves for identifying spring ephemerals and the other types of, so like, for example, did you guys know that we have yellow lady slipper on one of our properties?
No, but I'm sure hoping we would.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something like we wouldn't have known if we didn't ask him to do that stuff. And it helps us, like, that has shifted where our priorities are already this year, because it's getting overgrown by Phragmites and reed canary grass. So that's the kind of thing I mean, like, he's gonna show us where these priorities
Great.
are.
Oh, that's kind of what I'm trying to dig down to is, I forgot we talked about Orbis and like, that happens to me. But I'm glad, you know, that we have a consultant and that we're taking advantage of whatever. So is his contract once a year? It comes up and
It's
we
only
talk-
once, period.
So every quarter, he has to be re-upped and we have to agree? Yeah,
So we have a 1-year contract with
that's what
him,
I'm asking.
and that contract won't come back the following year. Like it's
It has to
one
be
and done.
re-upped.
One time.
We don't
thing is
need it
what she's
again.
Saying one time.
So you're saying after this year, we've got everything we need and we don't need a consultant
No,
anymore?
this can't be true.
No, I know, that's kind of what I'm curious
Oh,
about.
it is somewhat true.
Okay,
So that's why these plans take an entire year,
Uh-huh.
because he's out there bushwhacking
yeah,
through all of our parks and preserves.
yes,
And he can't step on every single
Of
step of stuff, but what
Yeah.
he's doing is using a standardized method
uh-huh,
to see as much of all of our properties as possible.
right,
It doesn't benefit us to pay him to come back next year when what he's gonna find is likely not drastically different than what he found the year before.
oh, if he can step on every acre that we need him to step on, then yes, but if he can't do all the acreage and we're missing some of his expertise in areas where we need it, then we would need to have him back, does that make sense or
It
no?
was his recommendation and he said, I had no physical way of completing this, but we don't give him an amount of time. We said, this is the goal that we're meeting and we're paying you this much to meet that goal.
And
So
the goal is step on every acre.
pretty much.
Oh, all right, okay, gotcha.
Would you ever consider partnering with like MSU or U of M, some of their programs where they have students that are kind of working on this? I don't know if they would be interns or, is that something we could
For
consider?
something this important, I think it's ideal to get someone who is a professional. Because we're basing all of our work for the next 5 to 10 years off of what he identifies. He wrote the Natural Communities of Michigan book, like he is
Mhm.
a state and regionally renowned botanist, so
Right.
his opinion, I think, is the gold standard.
I would absolutely agree that it's worth paying for it. If you know you're gonna get, and not that the people at U of M or MSU can't figure that kind of stuff out, but if you know you're dealing with one person and he's got the credentials, he or she, whoever that is, then great, yeah, we should do that. So, good.
And most of what would change over time, 10, 15 years is gonna be what we do as a result of what he's recommending.
Yeah. So we'll reevaluate so the plan is to make an individualized management plan for every single park and preserve that we have. And then we guide our work based off of those plans. And then at the end of the year, probably in like January, February, we go through all of the plans and update them for what work was accomplished in 2026. Then that way, next year, this plan is updated. It's continually updated, but it's still a guide for the long term.
And are you assessing your success in a certain way? Is he helping you come up with a format on how you can determine, hey, this Van Curler was 80%, Sloan was 20%, and so not that you would necessarily flip next year, but now these are the areas that need more attention than this one, and you can go back and forth and somehow assess that on your own without him doing the assessment, or are you doing the assessments?
We are doing the assessments over time.
Mm-hmm. But if he's the expert, obviously, I'm so above my pay grade asking these questions, so forgive me if I'm just stumbling here, but if we're paying him, does he also give you guidelines on how to assess the actual work and how successful we
I
were?
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
That's part of the scope that's outlined in his contract.
okay. So we have a template that we can use going forward, and we know how to use that template. Oh, great, okay, good.
It's gonna be something. It's gonna change everything about the way the department runs.
Fantastic.
Very exciting.
Is that something then, whenever the success rate has been understood, whatever time of year that is, and you've said, okay, we've wrapped up this whole year's worth of work, here's our assessment, can we see that?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
It's
You'll
also,
bring it?
so the plan is to put everything online.
Okay,
It should be fully accessible, like, it's, I have trouble with the website, but like with the reports that we did for the wildlife stuff, that's all on our website. So the idea is anything that we generate is public access, or is accessible by the public.
great, great. But for the sake of our committee meetings and our discussions with you, is it something then that we can have access to so we can see it, go over the kinds of things that
I think it'd be-
we can have a conversation about?
I think it'd be a good idea for us to, like, when the plans are done, is to like just have another large binder like the pros plan,
Yeah.
where all of it's in there, and then just bring it every time, so that
Great.
we can,
Okay,
You're building a data set of what's done, where it's done, when it's done, so that it's gonna be trackable through the
yes,
years.
so we are already doing that with GIS. So at the end of the workday, whatever we were doing, like we were doing herbicide spraying at Five Oaks, they build the polygon around the area that they were working. And then fill out what's the target species, what rate, what herbicide, even the weather conditions, so that we can kind of get an idea of like today, if it's super hot and we applied herbicide and it wasn't as effective, maybe we need to target these species when it's 75 and get there in the morning instead of the afternoon.
We're not doing it when it's gonna rain that night.
Yeah, that too.
So would it make sense to have this person come back in 5 years to review what we've done to see if progress, or think he's gonna give us the tools that we can evaluate?
I think that's the case. I think the standard is they give you the tools and then they say, all right, bye.
Okay.
Like that's, at least in the organizations I've worked for, and just because that's the way they did it, doesn't mean that's the way we have to do it. And
Right.
if there's a desire to like have him become like a regular person that checks it out, there's definitely a lot of value to that. But in general, most organizations aren't as well-resourced as we are. So in general, no, they just take it on, but we could do that.
Something to consider, Doctor.
absolutely, just because if we are using his tools and we think we're doing it right, and probably we are, but why not, hey, come on in, double check our work, let us know that we're doing it right, and thanks, see you later. He doesn't have to be a whole year, another year contract, maybe he's got a 1 day, whatever thing, he can come in and just verify everything.
Can I just point out that we're supposed to end in 15 minutes, and we haven't, we're about halfway through.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
a lot of good information.
So we're still on the public report though, I wanna make sure.
Yep, the one thing that we added to that one was the sign update.
Oh, yes, okay. I know that everybody had sticker shock when I said that, and I apologize, because in no way am I paying $6,000 per sign. That's just crazy. I didn't realize that the cost of fabricating something from scratch was so high. And I don't think that, so Chris Nordstrom has been the designer and the person that's reaching out to like the Disability Network and then to the fabricators, and he was shocked by it too. The problem has been getting companies to be interested in manufacturing. We have 2 other people. One person was half the cost, but it's still about $3,100. So I reached out to 2 people, 2 companies, and said, if we were to order all of our signs at once and have like an ongoing maintenance contract with you guys, what kind of deal could you give us? And I heard nothing back. So,
You guys reach out, come to iZone out of Texas.
no, I think we've been looking very local.
And so that would come to us though, for
Oh, yeah.
recommendation to the board?
Yeah, because the last thing that you all saw was just the first mock-up for Van Curler. And not a ton has changed since then. Partially because we need to figure out if these are gonna be able to be fabricated at a cost that is not eye-popping.
Are we doing unique signs? Are other townships and counties and so on that buy signs? We can't be, of course, we're not the only one buying signs, but are we doing something unique that nobody else is doing? We are,
Yes.
okay.
And can we
In
get,
what respect?
So the size is one thing that's different than most other organizations. The idea was to make the signs as accommodating to people with like visual impairments as possible so that people can look at the signs and feel confident enough in interpreting the sign to maybe explore an area that they might not have otherwise.
So that's Braille.
Braille and the sign is so large because the font is so large to accommodate. I don't really know exactly how people that need large print.
Yeah.
And then the colors are specifically chosen for the contrast for like red, green blindness. Is that red, green blindness? And then there's other kinds of color blindness that the colors that he chose were based on the recommendation from the Disability Network saying this color combination is going to be the most accessible for the most different types of vision, color vision.
So if we cut back on some of those specialty items, that would cut back on cost, right?
Yeah. So something else I was learning, I don't know if it's entirely accurate yet, still need to get back to the Disability Network, but it's kind of my understanding that a lot of, I think it's like 30% of people with vision impairments utilize Braille. That's not a ton of people that, I mean, if you're blind and you're one of 70% of people that don't use Braille, there has to be another way that they can interact with signs. And so part of what we had pitched for the grant to get supporting funds to cover that cost was an option on the website to have everything played online. So you could just listen to it instead of creating the Braille.
That would be more expensive for sure, but.
Yeah. It depends. I mean, it depends on who's your website designer.
Probably more.
Oh, you mean you just
maintenance.
you just hold up your phone and use your phone? Is that what you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I thought.
But
you
it's
meant-
still,
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So it's a QR code of some kind and you can
Yes.
pull it up, okay.
yeah. And I think that was, do you want me to grab the poster from last time?
Well, we have just.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're still working on it. Because county parks, we use iZone out of Texas. They're obviously not local. Their signs are like super high quality. I don't know the cost. I'll get the cost, but don't.
Do you know, do your signs have any kind of tactile interaction?
I don't believe so.
That's the problem. It's not the size necessarily, it's the getting them to be tactile, because every single one of them has to be fabricated with different.
I see.
So I know in Beaverway, they have just Braille things on their playgrounds. But I don't know about the others. I don't know who did that work, where do they?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
If you find out,
I can
let me
look
know.
into it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's move, if we can, move on. Did you have an update?
I do, but I
on your
just wanted,
presentation?
one thing I wanted to ask you in your report, we never heard a lot about Bria Shepherd's project.
Oh.
And so I wanted to ask you where that is and how, where she is in her.
So her contract is up as of, early last year because she ran out of money. So her contract wasn't necessarily for an amount of time, it was for like an amount of funds. So the project was to do the burn and then to place the seed. But the recommendation, because of the quality of the site still being really low, it was gonna be like $75,000 worth of seed.
75,000, was it?
It was a lot. I think it was that.
So what happened then?
We just determined that it was not the right time to put seed down.
Okay, and so what happened do we consider just say, we're not gonna renew that, or?
I guess I don't,
I mean, we didn't come back to us, so
Right.
I'm wondering where, because she was doing an ongoing research project, we sort of committed to her to,
it wasn't my understanding there was a research project, that it was restoration.
yeah, restoration.
Okay.
Right.
Cause we have permanent staff now who can do that work instead of having to hire out a consultant. That was part of the justification for getting permanent staff, was we can either pay the staff or we can continue to pay a higher rate to have consultants do this work for us.
She was doing a lot for free though, right? She was working for very low. I just feel as if we made a commitment to her and I just didn't know whatever happened to her, because we had never heard anything
Yeah.
since.
We had a great meeting with her and then.
Yeah, she was
that
wonderful.
was it.
And she worked for a long time for just on her own time for
Yeah.
us.
It was never my understanding that she did work, at least while I was here, without being compensated. She was compensated at a rate of like $38 per hour. Yeah,
That's reasonable, yeah.
we don't pay our staff $38 per hour. And they provide the same output. I mean, they're out there doing work at Van Curler as well.
Yeah, I thought we hired to her to do the restoration and her recommendations was the burn and the planting the seed, but then we found out planting the seed was so much per acre and you add that up by how many acres, like, whoa, I don't think we're ready to spend.
Yeah.
So
that much
did,
money.
but did we discuss renewing her contract or not?
I don't think it was just a 1-year contract. I don't think it was,
Yeah,
I don't think it ever.
okay. I just don't remember talking about that at all, but I just knew that we had not heard from her about her.
Right, well, I think
Yeah.
after the burn, that was sort of like her last thing, because the seed, she had components of different people, with different seeds, and even
Right.
some of the people recommend, like, I really wouldn't recommend seeding this because you're gonna spend a lot of money and you're not gonna get the results, just with,
And
that.
possibly doing more burns before you.
Yeah, do a
consider
couple more
seeding.
burns. I
That
think,
was
yeah.
most of it.
Thanks.
So let's go on to, again, new business, because we got a couple action items. Van Curler RFQ proposal. What, you want to explain?
Sally is online.
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
There we go.
All right, well, that was why I asked her to be on there. So. This project. So what they have asked for is compensation of about 10,000 to create to do the, that's why I need it for here,
Just,
topo,
what's that?
the topo study, the topography.
Right,
Part that's very minimal, just in order to be able to pass the information along to whoever's gonna put the culvert in. So that's one part. They are getting our permits for us for the road commission. And I asked them about the Huron Clinton Metro Park permit process, and they said that they weren't gonna do that, but we could do it. While they've been working with the road commission, I know that it's not ideal or what we necessarily want, but the rapid flashing beacons keep coming up. But we did budget for it just in case it became required by the road commission. So that's what this is about.
yeah, so basically this is the connection from Dexter Huron
Yeah.
Park into Van Curler.
All across here.
We had a couple meetings with the Metro Parks. Metro Parks wants more like details because they're not gonna issue a permit for a trail, even though it's a walking trail, they wanna know where it's gonna be. It crosses one of their creeks, so we need to get a culvert showing that detail. When then, here again, when it crosses the road commission's gonna want those details, show what it's gonna be. The question is it just a crosswalk with stripes and signs? That's basically your basic thing, and that's, on GT mountain biking trail, it crosses Waterloo Waterloo Road in Sylvan Township. There's just signs. DTE, I mean, Pato crosses, I think it is two roads, North Territorial and Roki. I don't know, one of those roads up there, same thing, just signs. So I look at those roads, similar traffic, some of them actually more traffic, probably more people using it. And there's not rapid flashing beacons. Usually you put rapid flashing beacons when you have a lot of users. And it's something you can add later. So I guess obviously if the road commission requires it, certainly, that's their condition. But how many people are actually every day? Because that's what they look at, how many people every day are gonna be crossing? And you don't put up rapid flashing beacons if you're gonna have 2 people crossing a day. That I would be, that might be heavy.
Well, something you taught me when we were out on one of our walks and preserves, when we were trying to figure out a parking lot and getting in and out off the road, is you have to have certain
Sightline.
distance of sightline. The other places you suggested, do they have really good sight lines? And when we walked this across the road on Huron River Drive. Seemed like one way you could kind of see, but there was a bit of a hill and a curve, and the other seemed kind of short. Is there a reason where flashing somehow is better for less vision?
Right, well,
Or is
generally
that
what they're
not
gonna
the case for the-
say is, if you don't have the sight line, you're probably not gonna get the crossing.
Okay,
So you don't generally wanna put a crossing, any kind of crossing, if
Okay.
you don't have the sight line.
Okay.
So they're gonna say, you need to rush back, and create that sight line.
uh-huh,
So if you can see the person or the whatever's walking
Okay.
across that, cyclist, whatever's the user crossing it.
so the road commissioner will just say, sorry, I don't care what you want, you're not crossing.
Right, it's like,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
exactly,
Alright.
you know,
So
even if
there's
you
an
like put a
expert.
driveway in, it's like, you don't have a sight line,
Yeah.
you're not putting a driveway, in. Same
Okay.
thing, you're not, if
Alright.
you don't have a sight line, you're not putting a crosswalk here. Find a different location, or if you don't have, you don't have the frontage, you're not gonna put, it's not gonna do it here, you
Alright.
figure out another way.
So are we doing this backwards? Should we have Washington Road?
No, we
Say
actually,
us.
OHM, we have looked at it, I think
Oh.
we can get the sight lines. I mean, you look at
Oh,
the speed
alright.
limit, it's 35.
Yep,
That's the
yep.
other thing that comes in, you know,
Okay.
versus the higher speed roads, so.
Okay.
Sight triangles are shorter on obviously the slower speed roads.
So the only reason OHM then is saying, hey, we can do all this is because they already know we can get a crossing, whether it's flashing or not. That's
Well,
what
they're
they're
gonna-
saying by doing this.
But they're gonna put it into a document that agencies can issue a permit for.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
mean, you can go out there and say, yeah, I can go out there right now and say you have it, but their road commission's gonna show an
Yeah.
engineering study or document saying, okay.
But in other words, we're not gonna pay them $9,900 and then the road commission's gonna say, oh, well, you can't cross here. And now we've spent $9,900. Is that, that's why I'm asking, are we doing this backwards?
Well, you gotta start somewhere.
I know, so why not start with the road commission and say, hey, we
Well, that's
wanna
what they're-
cross here, can you tell us that we can, so we can pay?
Well,
these
that's what
guys?
that's what they're gonna do, the road and the culvert. And I guess the Metro Park's already sort of said yes, I mean, even,
Yeah.
so we just need to, they're gonna draw the line. And then we're gonna present that information to the Metro Park.
I have a
So the
question
Met-
about the trail that's on the Metro Park land. I mean, that's not something that we're going to be doing. They're gonna be making those trails.
No.
It's a footpath and then
We're
it's
making the
something.
trails.
We're making trails on
Are
Metro
we
Park land.
managing the trails then?
Yes,
And they're letting us do that.
yes.
And why would we want to use our resources to do that?
What resources are you talking about?
This is a project that I was asked to pursue,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, if there's not interested in doing it, we don't have to do it, just, no, but we
No,
talked
no,
about trying to.
Just
Talk
because
about
we're
this
asking
for
questions
years,
doesn't mean we
really.
don't want to.
Okay,
We're just asking questions so that we understand
Yeah.
where are, we?
That's
That's all.
right,
Because these things, maybe I know we've talked about this before, but it's probably been so long that,
Yeah.
you know, to finally have this
right,
is, oh, okay, great. So can you just refresh
Right,
my
okay.
memory and how did
Right.
we
I
do
agree
this?
with
And,
what
you know,
Steve is saying is exactly.
It is a
Yeah.
little bit of a funny situation because Metro Parks being a permit funded situation, anybody who uses this is going to either purchase a permit for the day or they're gonna have a yearly permit. And Metro Parks is gonna be gaining a trail system that we're gonna build and pay for. So
which then you could argue that our people could be walking in, you could park up at Joy Road, walk in the back way.
Or if you wanted to go for a walk there and you couldn't because the parking lot is so small, then you could pay Metro Parks and then walk over to our spot.
Enjoy our.
I mean, I know we're still like seeing the revenue, but we still maybe get some of the benefit.
Many of the users.
it's just that we're paying for a park. Sorry, a trail system in their park that they're going to be able to put on their maps and be part of their access, their system.
Bragging rights.
Currently, they really mainly have the picnicking and the B2B going through it and not really a lot in the way of walking trips.
And that, yeah, it's a small park, right?
There's really only one main trail through that park, which is B2B trail. I don't have counts, but a lot of the users of that park don't pay the fee because they come in on the B2B pass through from Dexter or from downstream. And some of those people are Scio people who would use this to go into Van Curler. Whether it makes economic sense is another matter.
This enhances our neighborhood. This enhances our
Oh, it does.
township. So
I want to ask one question. I noticed the estimates, the OHM estimate says it is assumed that this is not protected wetland. And I would just wonder why they make that assumption, because my understanding of the Michigan Wetlands Protection Act is that along the river, there is a buffer, and it could well be protected by the Michigan Wetlands Act, and then Scio Township has its own Wetlands Protection Act. So I just wondered why they made that assumption.
I think that we determined that it's just a man-made ditch out there
Right,
that we're crossing.
And how did you determine that?
the way it's done.
Because the wetland, though, you have to go into the wetland right across
We're gonna be at more the high ground.
past the ditch.
Wetland is sort of to the west, rivers towards the riverside, but we're walking. It's not wetland. I mean, it's high ground, it's higher ground, I should say. It's not.
It does get wet.
Well, they just said it's not protected wetland, so I'm wondering why.
Well, I think probably it's
said
for wetland, then we're gonna be looking at putting boardwalk or going through a full Eagle permitting process. Which will probably cost a lot more. It will cost a lot more.
that. But someone has to determine it for sure, right?
But yeah, but there's wetland mapping, I'm guessing that's what they must have looked at. The county GIS wetland mapping. I'm not sure what they looked at, but
Yeah.
there's wetland mapping out there. I mean, we have been out there and, it's where the ball field used to be, if you remember the park. There used to be a ball field out there.
I can walk it
That's a
with you
wetland now. You can't even, because that's what we wanted to go through. And then we actually walked through it. We found out you really can't walk through it anymore because it's so wet. But we're looking to wind a trail through more just the woods.
And is the culvert, is that on the Metro Park?
Yeah, here again, you know where the cul-de-sac is, but that's where the trail's gonna come right off that cul-de-sac and go the shortest distance to Van Curler, which is most eastern part of that park.
Then Scio's taking on maintaining it.
This walking trail, right? We're gonna build it and maintain it. And hopefully our people will build it, because it's really just taking down invasive species.
But we don't need a boardwalk, or can we put, are there areas where we have to put something down? To make it,
No. Other than the culvert, no.
okay,
But they're gonna do enough engineering so we can get permits from the Metro Parks Road Commission and get proposals to install a culvert.
And so you're asking us to recommend this to the Board of Trustees for this to
Yeah,
pay for a design?
Yeah.
For $10,000, and then the cost to be determined once we get that design.
yeah, I mean, here again, if the road commission comes back and says they need rapid flashing beacons, then I'll have to come back and say that's gonna be $20,000, some number like that, but $30,000. The culvert's gonna cost $5,000, some number like that. I'm just grabbing numbers. But I mean, if it's a small amount, obviously Murphy has some authority. I don't know what that number is, that she can just do it every time you buy a pencil. I'm guessing. So there must be some authority at some point. I don't know.
You said we were budgeted for the flashing,
bye Norm.
Yeah.
just in case.
Yes.
And take it all. That was
So,
Okay.
75,000
5,000.
is what we budgeted for this project.
Oh,
good, but
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's flashing beacon
Just-
potential.
okay, right.
Okay. Where are we?
I guess we're waiting if there's a motion to approve this. Or
Oh, right.
We're just recommending to the board, right?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve this, to make this recommendation to the board.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Passes. Next one is Action Sloan Preserve Pedestrian Bridge.
Have a proposal, here for the design and engineer, we took the OHM food guy out there a couple months ago to look at the best place that we could do it without needing to do any tree removals. And, you know, this has been on my radar since before I started. I think this was started by Anna, but then there was the problem with the eagle permitting. And because of the way that the road pathway is getting done, and because it limits the impact on the shoreline, we don't have to have so many eagle permits because we're not putting anything in the water or within a distance of the shoreline. So that's how we approached this concept. Was it would be a prefab bridge that would be brought in. It wouldn't require so much eco permitting. We wouldn't be putting anything in Mill Creek itself, and then would be buffering between the sides of the creek. So right now, people are just taking large stones and building a pathway in the creek. No matter how many times you go out there and remove it, it always ends up back over there. So people clearly want access to the island. It's a beautiful spot, and I can totally see why. It's a really cool feature of Sloan that I think is mostly gone unexplored. We have a difficult time putting trails out there, partially because do we really want to encourage people to hike in a place that we couldn't access? If there was an emergency, we can't take the mower out there, so it's a lot of weed whipping. So,
Okay, so I have a couple of questions.
yes.
For one, I think it's a 10-foot wide by 60-foot long bridge. Is that what you're proposing?
Yeah.
And I just feel like that seems a little big for getting people over there. I feel like is there a reason why the bridge has to be that big?
I know it sounds like overkill, but we have to think about emergency vehicle access. We're gonna invite people over there.
No, it's to that little tiny preserve, it is just too much. We can't plan for everything, Bob. And I think we need to look for something that's a little bit more quiet, kind of natural area that is now.
It's really limiting and it's having a negative impact on the creek and then our shoreline because people are trampling it and eroding the side.
Trampling what?
The side of the creek. So I think either we need to say and put up signs that says you cannot access this. Otherwise, we're gonna keep degrading the side of Mill Creek. People are gonna keep putting stones in there.
So it kind of sounds like you're suggesting it's either this or nothing. And I don't think we're saying it's this or nothing. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but
No, I'm just
It could
saying
be-
this is a solution to two problems, access and damage.
well, but this is a solution, yes. The idea of a bridge is a solution. I think this being 10 feet wide and 60 feet long is where maybe we're having an issue. And my curiosity is emergency vehicles, okay, fine. Is there a 10-foot wide path all the way to the bridge that an emergency vehicle can actually traverse to get over the bridge?
The pipeline easement.
Oh.
It's
We
66
don't
feet
own
wide.
that property.
No, but it's still accessible. And part of how we were planning on accessing the site to put this in is getting permission from the pipeline owners to say, we want to put this here. Basically, if we don't get permission from them, this project is dead in the water because we're not cutting down trees to get equipment back there.
For the purpose of, and look, I understand, you know, if you feel that you need to have an emergency vehicle get back there, then okay. But do we really feel that we need to?
This was a project, as most of the projects are, that was proposed to me when I started,
Uh-huh.
and I've been working on it, and if at this stage, it's not a priority to the committee. And we don't feel like it's a priority to the community, which is fine. Then we'll just end it, but this is the way. I know that the bridge is large, we have someone in the building who is the decision maker, who is emphasizing safety. Safety is important. If we're gonna invite people over there, this is what we have to do. We need to be able to get our own equipment over there in terms of a vehicle to mow.
Well, I have to say, Rita and I put a trail, the two of us, through the whole field with a weed whipper. And, you know, it took a long time, but it can be done. And we don't need to take, you know, tractors over there. So I think it can be done on a smaller scale, and I'd like us to look into it. I don't know who in the township is saying we have to have an emergency vehicle, but I would disagree with that. I mean, what are you gonna do, boat from the end of the service pipeline across the creek to get to the island, or? It doesn't make.
And even that kind of thinking, you could extend that to every preserve we have. I mean, can an emergency
Yeah,
vehicle get all the way into the
Even
depths of
something
Sloan?
done right now is how do we get emergency access vehicles to remote areas of all the preserves?
Okay, well then can I ask a question? Because when we were talking about all the liability of Township Hall Park, for example, and we went back and forth, well, you know, you go into the park, you know what you're getting into, and Ann Arbor doesn't have it. Can't that thinking be used for this? It
Not
can't.
necessarily. There's a big difference between liability, and one of the things that we're looking at is you can use liability, especially as a municipality, but if someone gets injured and they can prove gross neglect, that liability doesn't exist anymore.
Gross neglect on our part,
Yes.
because we didn't stop them from going over.
We didn't ensure that there is a way to have safety as the top of mind. And again,
Okay. Yeah.
I've been here for 2 years.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff, it takes a lot of time.
Okay.
And we're not making sweeping changes when it comes to how we're able to ensure that the people who go to our parks are safe. That's something that is new. And it's something that we're changing the way we're looking at how people interact with the parks. And I'm not saying that we have to be over the top and be ridiculous about it. But the fact is, we haven't thought about it, period. So when we look at something like this, where we are actively inviting people to go to a remote space, it's our responsibility to do what we can to make sure that the people who go over there are safe.
Okay, I mean, I think there's a basic value to have that statement, but I still don't think that requires a 10-foot by 60-foot bridge. So for example, what you just said is if we don't get access through the pipeline, we're not building a bridge no matter what. Is that basically true?
That is true.
Okay, so if we do get access and we can get an ambulance all the way back to the bridge, then they take the stretcher out and they go over the bridge, and it's a smaller bridge, and they bring them back to the ambulance, and we still have a bridge, but we still have access. We just don't go over the bridge with the ambulance. I mean,
Well,
okay,
it's two things.
okay,
The width of the bridge is what is required for us to actually get our mower over there. And while I understand that we can do it with a weed whip, that's not how I am going to advocate for my staff to spend their time.
yeah, okay.
So
Well, you could get a volunteer to do that. I would certainly do that. And I think there are others in this group that would, or others in the community.
I wish that I felt confident enough to say that I can just count on that all the time, but I can't.
So the mower is 9 feet, 9 inches wide?
It's like a 0-turn large mower.
Okay,
I think
is that
that's-
how wide it is though? Oh, well then how,
Well, the OHM designed it based on what they did their own research. I don't know. I can't give you.
The length of the bridge, I think, is for the Eagle permit,
okay, no, I'm fine,
Right.
60 feet long. I'm just thinking
the width.
10 feet. Yeah, I don't-
But I guess any type of ATV, any type of vehicle like that, it's probably gonna need about 10 foot wide.
Oh, okay, well,
I mean, it is one of those, it's a preserve, I mean, the trail going down there, it's like a single track, right? So that's where it's sort of like, I mean, at county parks, we sort of, you know, and I look at like the mountain bike trails, like the Pato Trail, different things, you know, they're single tracks. And I know like Chelsea Fire Department, that's their area. They end up getting, you know, a specialized piece of equipment, because, you know, those are long, single, you know, can't get vehicles back in there. So it becomes this balance, sort of like, you know, it's preserved with single walking trails, but then trying to get emergency services back there. It's sort of like trying to balance where,
Yeah,
you know, sort
sure.
of like, yeah, what makes sense.
And what is this liability really? How would it really be proven that we were liable for someone
Yeah.
having a kind of a problem?
I would, yeah, this does not seem like a very good use of millage money, to me, to have $30,000 just on a design phase. And then who knows how much in the future. And I would almost suggest if we're worried about liability and degrading the shoreline, that we put up signs saying, you know, do not enter the water, you enter at your own risk. And kind of hold back on this and kind of see if there's a way that it can be done in a more environmentally friendly way. Because this is really, it seems to me, way out of keeping with that particular preserve, which is such a quiet, like natural space.
I think it's fishermen that go back there the most.
Do we still have structure on both sides? There have been steps, with.
There's
Steps
steps
to
there.
one side.
Yeah, that's kind of an invitation to.
And those rocks have been there forever. I go down there a lot. Those same old rocks are there. It's not that people are putting in new rocks.
We move them and it is new rocks. People,
Okay.
we try to discourage people from crossing and they do it.
But we could just put up a sign and say, stay out of the thing. you know,
Signs
cross
don't
at
do
your own risk.
anything, because if signs were effective, there wouldn't be someone
So is
who
it
just
illegal
ran
to-
by with their
Well,
dog
no,
out.
we can't control people's behavior, but we
No,
can
but we
control
can
it.
put things in place, to protect Mill Creek. And I'm in favor of this. We have it on the capital plan. It's been on the capital plan for 2 years. If we want to enact this project, we have to start design now. If we don't want to do this project, then I'll take it off the capital plan for the future years. But this is a good idea. It helps people interact with what is now our largest park with the addition. And I think this is a slam dunk.
Murphy, with the addition of the new acreage, does that open a different area where Mill Creek could be crossed that might make it a little less challenging?
I don't think it's
Expensive.
ideal, mostly because the wooded areas in the new part are higher quality. 'Cause that area in Sloan, it's not high
Are
quality.
you talking about the corner where we do the macroinvertebrate?
Yes,
So where it exists now, where the stones are, but
Yeah.
there's nowhere else that would be a reasonable place to put this.
the access is the hardest part. This is the easiest spot because we can get access through the pipeline easement. We don't have to cut trees, and that was something we already looked at. We could have put it in a different spot, but there's a massive cottonwood that's gonna have to come down if we wanna put it there. So there are options, but there are sacrifices. Whereas this spot, you don't have to cut trees. It's already along the path that exists and there's access. I don't think there's a better place to put it.
I have 2 questions. Would this bridge just provide access to the island? It doesn't go all, it's not gonna go across the western channel.
Right. Cause the other side isn't our property.
I see.
And we couldn't consider like using MRC to build something. I mean, is that like a vendor that we could consider?
Really, so that's where the limitations come in, because we had talked, I don't remember when, but we had talked about building a bridge ourselves and what that would mean in terms of being able to bypass some of the stricter Eagle regulations. And I don't mean that to sound sneaky, but the problem is, the second you get within a certain distance of the bank, Eagle has to be involved. And that's part of why the length is what it is, to be able to utilize the space the way that I would like to see it be utilized. That's the width that the bridge needs to be. Otherwise, if we want to make it shorter, that's fine, but we're gonna be sitting with this project for the next 2 years waiting for Eagle permits. to
Are
get
there
through.
other vendors though that could build the bridge? I mean, it's not OHM that's gonna build. the
They're
bridge.
just designing it.
They're designing it.
They did that.
What do we think the bridge would cost?
I don't know, and they're not in the business of throwing out yeses.
My thing is that maybe we should do this part, the design work, and then consider whether we go for it. I mean, $10,000, it's $10,000.
This
No, this-
$30,000.
much more.
$30,000.
Yeah.
30,000.
Because this involves permitting with. The Eagle permits are less strict, but we still have to involve Eagle. It is a floodplain. And we have to look at, if there's something to do with FEMA.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm concerned the bridge might cost $500,000.
I don't see how that could possibly be
Hundreds of
when
thousands.
you look at phase 5 and the total cost, including the astronomical cost of including Amtrak crossing, is $3.6 million. So that's how much pathway, plus including the building of the retainer wall, plus the bridge. I mean, that's 3.6 million right there. How much of that cost is going towards building of the bridge? Not
I
that
think
much.
that bridge was 1 million.
I'd say bridge like that's a million. I would say I built 30 span on Dexter Chelsea. That was probably a little less than between 70 to 100,000. The one, if you're going out past Parker, and then that little 30, I think the 30-foot span. Mill Creek.
How do we gauge how many people we think are actually gonna use this bridge?
You could all use it. Use it if we build it.
I mean, just anybody crystal ball that?
We could set up cameras, like camera traps, and we could do a usage survey.
It's a
of,
great
like, how many
idea.
Cars are going in and out.
No, I mean, can you put a camera trap like humans that are moving rocks and trying to get across and
Yeah,
count?
that's where I would put it,
Yeah,
down there. Let's
yeah.
let's see what's going on.
Yeah,
I'd rather we're serving the people who go there to visit the preserve. It's not necessarily about the people moving the rocks. It's about the people who are going to visit, who get to the end of that path and either have to turn around or
Yeah.
want to risk
yeah,
crossing.
yeah.
So question, it's illegal to move rocks in the river?
No, it's
Okay.
just not good practice.
Okay.
I know.
Have you guys been to the Arbor, that person that used
Yeah.
to do that?
Yeah.
I don't know if he still does that,
So-
but
The botanical gardens have a couple of bridges that look exactly like what I think we have in mind. I'm assuming it's a wooden bridge. Am I
It's-
right?
60 feet long and
But
70.
that, I mean, they have some bridges like this that go over the creek, even a similar sized creek. And I wonder if we can find out who did their bridges and how.
One of their bridges, the bridge that they use to cross vehicles. So the second that bridge comes down or needs repair, that bridge is not being rebuilt that way. Because the same thing happened when the other 2 bridges got washed out and they were just closed for over a year because U of M said these do not meet our updated safety standards. So the new bridges are wood, they're much narrower and they can't drive their vehicles across it at all. So they go back to the larger bridge, which is grandfathered in for now.
I would guess it's gonna be a steel I-beam for the span with wooden
yeah, it's
surface.
gonna be, yeah, you can't span 4.
Exactly.
60
Sure,
feet width.
exactly.
Unless it's a special
It would-
arch type glue lamb.
So
We
there's
can't have the
no,
Barton Bridge. They're gonna take that out and put in a bigger one, a 10-foot wide bridge.
It'd be kind of sweet if we could like repurpose the bridge.
Well, that happens, doesn't it?
that's what they're
Yeah,
doing
they're
in
doing
Dexter.
it.
kind of
I
like.
know a lot
this-
about that one. That's $300,000, just that bridge without all the pies. So that's, any bridge is, but that's 103 feet long. versus 60.
That's gonna be a bridge that has hundreds of people using it every day,
Mhm.
thousands on next days.
I'd like to see if there are any other options for this. And actually, it would be really helpful to me if we had discussed this earlier before this concept came before us, because it looks as if somebody's thought it through a whole lot, but the location of it is, and the design of it is the proposed design is just way out of line of anything I have thought about for a bridge to the island. And I hear what you're saying, but I wonder if there are options.
I mean,
We
this has
are
been
not
talked about.
going to- Exactly. One, this has been talked about multiple times, and I know that this was said at the last PPP meeting, that this is somehow out of left field. All of the projects that are in the capital plan are by recommendation of this committee. And if I come up with something months later, it's because I've been working on your recommendation for months. And that's the result, right here is the result of months worth of work. And this was outlined in the capital plan. And I don't necessarily appreciate this idea that I'm somehow withholding information. What I'm doing is taking what you guys have asked me to do with your millage money and giving you exactly what you've asked for. And if you don't like the location and the design, that's one thing. But I cannot come up with different ideas without paying someone who is an expert to do it. I just can't.
Right, maybe the problem is that the capital plan, you know, we need to be more familiar with the capital plan. And the exact items in the budget for them and ahead of time. And so I know it's on a piece of paper and I know
But
that.
we went through this at a Parks Committee meeting. We went
I
through the
mean, not
capital
in this
plan.
kind of, I do not recall us going through it in this kind of detail where we, and so it would be helpful, to me, this is coming out of the blue. And I hear you saying you've been looking at it for a long time, but to me, it's rather new. I know we've talked about the concept of bridge, but this seems excessive. But then again, you know, I'm just one person.
I do know, I remember Anna working on this, so that was, I remember how long ago Anna was here. So the other thing is, what we're asking OHM to do is start the engineering on this. Either we want them to start on the engineering or not. We can also ask them to look at width and this length. I mean, that's what the type, size and location, that's where they're doing. The type of bridge, size of it, and the location. That's what this generally you're starting them to do. So you gotta pay someone to do that. And then just because we pay them $30,000, whatever that number is, doesn't mean we're gonna build it. We may find, you know, and then we could then ask them, is there, you know, the width, and those type of things, and what type of it is, and all those details. But if we don't hire them to start this process, we'll never get those details ever ironed out. So I guess this is a proposal. I guess I'll ask, is there a motion to approve this action item?
Well, I guess with the idea that we still don't know, well, okay. There's a person who will remain unnamed, who is deciding that this bridge has to be this size. Basically, is that correct? Is that what we're to understand? Right? You're being told by someone, I don't wanna know their name.
No, it's not necessarily that I'm being told,
Oh,
but what I am saying is there is a shift, and we as an organization, especially in the Parks Department, are focusing on making sure the people that interact with the parks are safe, and I agree with that. That's something that has not
yeah, I
been
mean, that's a.
prioritized. So that's just
Okay.
one aspect of this.
Okay.
The reason it is the size that it is for those two reasons. I need to be able to take equipment over there,
Yeah,
and we need to not get caught in eagle permits for the next 2 to 3 years. So that's where the length comes in, that's where the width comes in. If we want to go through the process of dealing with eagle, I can tell you, we're not going to do this project for at least another 2 years. My husband has been waiting to get permitting from Eagle to build a wooden boardwalk that's 3 feet long, literally for the last 2.5 years. They're not speedy and they don't have to be.
yeah, right.
So this is a way that we get around having to do that permitting and continue to maintain the integrity of the creek at the same time. So we want to maintain the integrity of the creek and make it shorter will involve Eagle. That's it.
I'm gonna go visit the site again. We went down there, but we kind of had a field trip with Anna and the two interns. Rita and we had 2 interns.
Yeah.
Nats, whatever they're
Right.
called.
Yeah,
Anyway, we
right.
took a field trip down there, we
Yeah.
walked
We
around
did,
there.
yeah, we walked right up
That's
to
the last
water.
time I've been in that
Yeah.
park. I'm gonna go visit it again
Yeah.
because I lack information. That's my shortcoming. I don't have. I gotta go visit the site.
It's very,
Well,
What would be the consequences of tabling this till next
Nothing.
meeting?
It's no
Okay.
rush.
okay.
Motion, we could table this
We
too.
can table this, but what I'm feeling like, I can see where we proceed with this contract and then take it after that, explore more, but I'm hearing, what I'm hearing, I just know it's gonna cost a lot of money. And if we have money, how much money do we have set aside for this in the budget?
For this fiscal year, so the
This
way that
year is like doing this part.
yeah, so unfortunately, for the capital plan, the engineering part wasn't included, but for next year, we had set aside $150,000 for construction. So this is just the engineering and design. So I set aside for engineering and design.
Determine the bridge is gonna cost $150,000. Is that what you're
That's
saying?
what-
No, I'm just saying that's
Oh.
how much I set
Oh.
aside.
The wild guess,
Oh, okay.
which is by the ballpark.
For engineering fees this year, I budgeted $405,000.
So
we have
we have
plenty
the
of money
money in
to
our
do
budget
this.
to do this. So I personally, because we have talked about it for a long time, I would say we do this part, or this part of the contract and then see what we can come up with.
60 foot long, 10 foot wide bridge, you're wanting them to design, right?
No, but I
Well, then-
hear, what I'm hearing is that maybe why don't we table it and everybody sits on it for a minute and let it. go and see.
29,000, so it's not a $10,000
It's not,
that
yeah.
we just did. This is 3
They-
times.
Right.
And they don't design, the bridge. they're using, someone else is gonna engineer the bridge, they're just gonna just look at the
They have a
topography,
bridge engineer.
OHM will design this.
Yeah.
preliminary engineering design.
Yeah, that's what they.
Correct.
It's not gonna be a prefab thing.
And
Well,
they're,
no, it could be, but that's still the engineering to figure out what, it could be prefab, probably true.
It says in there.
yeah, it does.
But you still got to engineer the abutments, you got to engineer, all those the details.
Figure out whether this is, whether it's 60, yeah, I understand.
And where it's gonna be exactly is, I'm
Right.
interested in where the.
Right, and that's what they tell, type, size and location. Yeah, so where you-
It was in
I saw the
the,
map, but
Yeah.
I did not, it was not clear to me.
That-
what
yeah,
that
I
location
mean-
is. That didn't mean a lot to me.
Yeah,
If we could, put the creek in there and put the White Lotus place in there, it would.
so OHM has a bridge designer,
Mhm.
but they're not going to give us some kind of a ballpark on what they think the bridge will cost, right?
Well, after they get to the engineering, they will.
they can't
Okay.
really give you a ballpark when they don't even know the topography. Like, they're not gonna do any work for free. So,
No, I don't think I'm asking.
no, I'm just saying that's why, because
Yeah.
to give you that estimate involves at least some level of boots on the ground work.
Okay,
So that's where this comes in.
okay. I got you.
Does 10 foot wide necessarily mean that the roadway, walkway itself would be that wide, or is there structure that
Structure.
takes up part of that?
Yeah.
So it's not really a 10 foot
It's
wide.
not 10 plus the, yeah, okay.
But you gotta get vehicles down to it and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's my last question, I guess, is if we don't have access through the pipeline people and we pay to have all this engineering done and we're not given access, then is this wasted money?
Was that part of, Go ahead.
I'm not making any promises, but we're gonna get the access.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think that's a problem. I mean,
Okay.
after seeing what Lutton did. he
Exactly.
had to use the access. So.
All right. Well, that would be my last.
so, right, so this is,
table it.
they're not on the table,
Yes.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go.
not debatable, so
Okay,
Okay, good.
we'll table it.
Okay. Thank you, Murphy, for, that was a lot of discussion,
Right.
but you know what, I think.
With
that-
the time here, I'd say we hold off on the role of PPP committee till next meeting.
okay,
Okay,
We get, we're already hour, yeah, 40 minutes over,
so we'll do that next time.
yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
yeah,
great.
okay, everybody's all right with that?
Okay, we're on item I, public comment. No one's here. Anyone? Chris online? With their hand up? No one online?
Wait,
So no
should
hands
we-
up?
Should we talk about just tabling the discussion of the role?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Roy said that.
Yeah.
Okay, and everybody's good with that?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, motion to adjourn?
I'll say.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Murphy. Did you stay at that, were you at that meeting late last night?
No, I left after the personnel issue.
I turned it off at 11:30, but